Всем привет, мои дорогие друзья! Вы на канале Магарыча, и мы продолжаем проходить Вампира. Я не знаю, как мы сейчас будем с этой Мэри Рид драться. Блин, надо как-то, я думаю, прокачаться. Типа, чтобы потом в лохах не остаться. У нее 21, блядь! У меня опыта 1800 есть. Ну, типа, это жестко. Новый диалог. Эшбери, новый диалог доступен, да? Порядки и. Блядь, вы чё, угораете? Ну, погнали. Пятьсот с хуем, вы угораете. Блять. Да похуй, погнали. Что ж делать? Надо прокачиваться. А потом уже, знаете ли... Стоять, блядь, нихуя подобного. Ладно, погнали, похуй. Надо прокачаться, потому что он так пиздов натаскают, блядь. Все, сдох. Отлично. Бля, что он здесь? Ничего? Ну да и ладно. Крыски бегают. Но мне нужно отсюда выйти. Блядь, что за маркеры вот ставятся? Я не понимаю. Я же ничего не ставил, никаких маркеров. Ни хрена же, блядь. Какого хера не появляется? Кто там, блядь? Сдохни, блядь. Кто там, блядь? Где нахуй? Вот так вот. Типа 2-3 уровня бы еще прокачать было бы вообще прям отменно. Я считаю. Плюс надо аптечки себе восполнить, блядь. Да, блядь. Сука, ты чё, блядь? Вот так вот, блядь. Надо выполнить задание доп, потому что, ну, блядь, они прокачанные, мне дают пизды. Это плохо. Пембрусская больница. Так, здесь...
Thelma Howcroft said she was being watched by vampire hunters. Where are they hiding? I should investigate.
Ага. Заебись. Очень логично. Может, с тобой что-то есть по диалогам?
Good evening. Goodbye.
Новое, говорит, расследование, блядь.
Good evening, Doctor. I believe we're going to be working together.
Dr. Reid. Dr. Suonsi informed us of your arrival, but I could not dare to believe we'd have such good fortune. Such an honor, sir.
Thank you. And you are?
I am Thoreau Strickland, Dr. Thoreau Strickland. I'm a great admirer of your work, Dr. Reid.
Ага, давай поговорим.
Do you need my...
You don't have to worry about me, Dr. Reid.
Please, could you tell me something about yourself?
I'm a great admirer of your work concerning blood transfusion, Dr. Reid. I run my own experiments. I'm convinced it's the future.
Ага.
I based my technique on my mentor's research. He helped me perfect my method. What is yours?
I'd rather not talk about it. For now, it's just theories and first approach. My process is purely experimental and unsuccessful.
As long as you're cautious and methodical, you may remain empty-handed, but you won't fail.
You're not the first one to warn me, but I am convinced knowledge is the main weapon against the ravages of this epidemic.
What made you choose to...
I'm not ashamed to admit you and your work have inspired me. I am honored to have the opportunity to work by your side.
It's always a pleasure to share scientific and medical knowledge with someone eager to learn. I'll be glad to help you if I can.
This epidemic may be the century's most terrible disaster, but I'm convinced that we, as doctors, are the only ones able to defeat it.
Отлично.
What can you tell me about...
Well, it has always been an honor to work with Dr. Suonsi. But with your arrival, I can't think of a better opportunity to learn about blood transfusion.
Do you need help with anything in particular?
Well, yes, maybe. I'm waiting for a batch of products I ordered for my personal research, yet my supplier seems to have vanished.
Do you want me to play the errand boy for you?
Oh no, Dr. Reid. But if you went personally to his shop, what with your reputation and all, he wouldn't dare to refuse the products I need.
I see. Well, give me the address, for I may pass by if I have time.
Отлично.
You seem quite optimistic. It's a rare and precious attitude in these difficult times.
I'm convinced that this epidemic is a test of endurance and dedication for us men of science.
Questions remain about our capacity to resolve the situation.
True. Last summer, during the first wave of the epidemic, I used to joke with Milton about the extra work. We're not smiling now.
Да.
Tell me more about your willingness to experiment with new medical techniques.
Harvey Fiddick is a patient suffering from a severe injury that could cripple him if not treated correctly. I'm convinced your blood transfusion technique could help him.
What is it you really want? To save him? Or to prove your point?
Fair question. I want nothing but to save my patient, Dr. Reid. Especially since I know Mr. Fiddick's story.
Tell me Mr. Fiddick's story.
Our first diagnosis was compromised because Mr. Fiddick lied to us about the real origin of his injury. He first claimed it was an accident.
But why would he hide such crucial information from us?
Because he is a proud father, ashamed of putting his children at risk because of his own negligence.
This personal involvement could also appear to be a lack of impartiality. You must know that a good surgeon must remain neutral.
I agree. But that does not excuse Dr. Ackroyd's behavior, a man who did not even take time to converse with his patient.
Do you think keeping his distance was a mistake?
All I know is that I'm taking care of human beings with desires, hopes, and fears. Not some biological machine comprised of blood, bones, and flesh.
Окей.
Goodbye.
Всего доброго.
Good evening, Mr.
Good evening, Dr. Reid.
Tell me about your injury, Harvey. Why do you feel so guilty about it?
My wife died because of me. And now I may lose everything because I've been careless enough to hurt myself. What an arsehole.
You can't hold yourself responsible for your injury, Mr. Fiddick. Unless you tried to hurt yourself.
Of course I didn't hurt myself. But I can't work until my arm is fixed. My children need to eat, Doctor.
Это понятное дело.
How could your job be responsible for your wife's death?
I was working a double. She went out to bring me a hot meal and got caught in a German bomb raid.
Goodbye for now.
Так, стоп. Вот, у меня
Good
переутомление.
evening, Mr.
Good evening,
Is there anything...
Really? Why is no one else up?
Unfortunately...
Perhaps...
Goodbye.
Так, что там, у кого там? Переутомление. Переутомление.
Good evening.
Do you require...
Do you know you're the only one who's up?
Despite what...
Well, at least your reputation seems...
Goodbye.
Всего хорошего.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reid. I believe we're going to be colleagues.
Reid, yes, I've been informed about your arrival. I'm Waverly Ackroyd. Welcome aboard, I suppose.
Does my arrival inconvenience you in some way, Dr. Ackroyd?
Let us just say that I don't particularly share Dr. Suonsi's enthusiasm for hiring you. What we need here are reliable professionals, not overrated dabblers.
Ах ты, сука.
If you have a problem with me, Dr. Ackroyd, please feel free to tell me.
Dr. Suonsi has imposed your presence on this hospital without asking anyone's advice. The benefit of his position. But I don't agree with it.
I know we've never met before, but I believe this hospital could use all the help it can get. You will agree with that, I'm sure.
Oh, but I have heard about you, Dr. Reid. Of course, you can't say the same about me, since I have not wasted my time courting the press.
Aren't you too old for such jealousy? It really won't do you any good, you know.
Don't be ridiculous, Dr. Reid. A simple glance is enough for me to know you have nothing for me to envy.
О, какой ты, блядь.
If you...
Doctor...
I know. Aren't you too...
Don't be ridiculous.
Since you're...
Let's just say I'm tired of the carelessness around me. I have always respected the skills of Dr. Suonsi, but over time his enthusiasm has become displaced.
Carelessness? Exactly what are you talking about?
We're here to save lives. The people who trust us are not volunteering for experimentation. They're here to be healed.
I don't intend to run any radical experiments, Doctor. Even if I, as any good practitioner should, express an interest in pushing the boundaries of medical research.
Modern medical methods were created through audacity and ego. But there are rules in our line of work, and they're here to protect our patients.
Tell me, Waverly, what do you think of Dr. Strickland's enthusiasm for his experimental research?
Strickland is playing with his patients' lives for pride and glory. Now that, sir, is unethical.
Are you thinking about something in particular?
Harvey Fiddick needs delicate surgery. I believe we should stick to the usual procedure, but my young colleague obviously disagrees.
Why do you wish to lead this surgery?
I strongly believe that Mr. Fiddick should not be butchered to test an unproven procedure.
If you are going to lead this surgery, I'm trusting you to assume the consequences of your actions, whatever the result.
I'm not the kind of man who runs away from his responsibilities, Dr. Reid. There is no need for you to be looking over my shoulder.
And are you not afraid that your rivalry with Strickland may be blinding you?
Rivalry? I guess you could call it that. But I will never be childish enough to let my personal feelings affect my judgment.
It seems you have bad memories of your military service.
I refuse to see this industrial slaughter as scientific progress. War only reveals the worst in men.
We can at least agree on something, Dr. Ackroyd. I don't know what you've heard about me, but I have already proved my value as a practitioner.
I don't question your skills, Dr. Reid, but your motive. Is it money, fame, or are you truly dedicated?
And what exactly is that supposed to mean?
I served in the war just like you. But unlike you, I did not use the wounded to play the modern sorcerer.
Be careful what you insinuate, Dr. Ackroyd.
I only want you to admit you used those men to improve your theories.
This is ridiculous. My blood transfusion technique saved many lives, and you know it.
You see? That is exactly what I hate about people like you. You avoid this kind of accusation instead of facing reality.
Да пошел ты нахуй, блядь.
Thank you for...
Козел, блядь. Козел какой, блядь.
Good evening, Miss Howe.
I need blood, Doctor.
Tell me, Thelma, why do you feel so attached to Mr. Elwood? Why him?
I'm not sure, Doctor. I think we have a bond of some sort. We've both suffered so much. He's the only mortal I find interesting.
Would you say you and Mr. Elwood are romantically involved?
No. No, Thomas is a delicate soul. Even though he disguises it. But I am not the woman he needs. No, for I am a vampire, Doctor.
Do you plan to make him a vampire too?
Of course not. How could I inflict my curse on anybody else? I'm not that cruel, Doctor.
Ну ладно.
I'll leave.
Эй, блядь, ты нахуй, мых.
Good evening.
Evening.
How is your stay with us, Mr. Elwood?
Oh, it's bliss. I just escaped death in the trenches to be surrounded again by the moans of the dying.
Can I ask you precisely why you're a patient here?
It's the pain, sir. The drugs don't work. It just hurts under the scars, if you get my drift.
Ну да.
Soldier,
Not really.
as long as you remain here,
Don't think you can do much about it.
goodbye.
Блядь, вот помогаешь, ну что ты делаешь, блядь. Крой до переутомления уже тоже, сука.
I'm quite busy.
Do you need my...
Don't be ridiculous.
Then you are lucky that
I wish this hospital could have received as much attention from you, Dr. Reid. We do not see you in surgery very...
Thank you for your time.
Да иди ты нахер, блядь. Ну вот серьезно, челпс. Блядь, я застрял.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Нету ничего нового, не?
Do you require...
I will be fine.
Nurse, you won't...
I'll try.
Пожалуйста. Где этот хуй, блядь, ворчливый? Мортимер. Ага.
Good evening.
Good evening, Doc.
Do you need any...
I'm afraid I do.
Our job...
That's easy for you to say, Doctor.
Goodbye.
Ну, я вылечил здесь дохуя людей.
It is good to see you again.
I'm better than one might expect, Lady Ashbury. Dr. Suonsi has asked me to investigate the recent disturbances in the hospital caused by scars.
Really? What do you mean?
There is something ominous closing around me, Lady Ashbury. Something spies upon me from the shadows. Something cruel and wicked.
Whatever do you mean, Jonathan?
Do you suspect someone?
I don't know, Jonathan. I steer clear of vampire politics.
especially whilst hunters roam the city's streets.
Ага.
If Sean Hampton and Harriet were not the guilty parties, then who? I saw the bodies and the blood.
Your rebirth has not gone unnoticed, Jonathan. Be extremely careful. If you get in the way of an immortal's plans.
Хорошо.
I discovered the most intriguing skull. An elderly woman answering to the name of Old Bridget, and a man who helps them remain hidden in London.
Old Bridget? Peculiar name, I've never heard of her.
Skulls of London have gone into hiding. Both mortals and immortals plot their extermination.
Yes. Skulls are the orphans of the Vampire Society. They are the shame of their genitors, a disgrace to the vampire that created them.
According to Old Bridget, skulls can lead a peaceful existence like us. They are even able to nourish themselves by feeding on corpses and the flesh of the dead.
How vile. Please, Jonathan, let's change the subject.
Все, я уже пиздел с тобой, извини.
Goodbye. It's locked.
Ну что, ебать, я понял. На ракешу сходим, дадим. А, нет, сейчас к себе подниму сейчас. Суонси можно зайти, кстати.
Jonathan, at last.
Don't worry, Edgar. The reputation of Pembroke Hospital is secure. Sean Hampton was not the guilty party.
Is that true? Oh, good news. Good news indeed.
Does the name Old Bridget ring any bells?
I'd never heard of her. Why? A patient of ours? I must confess, I don't know them all.
No, it's just someone I recently met. A fascinating woman. I had thought that perhaps...
By the stole, Jonathan, you've met another vampire. I would appreciate an introduction, if that's the case.
What do you know of the Ascalon Club?
Not as much as I would like. There have always been rumors about a secret society of vampires operating in the interests of the British Empire, though I've never met a member.
Do you think Lady Ashbury would know of them?
Jonathan, our beloved lady is not one for social dalliances, nor the assemblies of dark orders. She's a woman of superior taste and selective acquaintance.
I crossed paths with one. A terrifying creature going by the name of Fergal. He was sent by the Ascalon Club to exterminate the Skulls of the East End.
By the stole, Jonathan. If vampires are eliminating their own progeny, then dark times are upon us. Darker than I've ever witnessed.
Такая хуйня, блядь.
I found Harriet Jones. She's much the same old, embittered woman she was, only she's been made a Skull. Her transformation did not go well.
Incredible. Why not bring her here? We could learn so much by studying her condition. It would be fascinating.
Were there any studies made by your order on the subject?
Not that I'm aware of. I will transmit your discovery to the Brotherhood's primate. He will be delighted.
I doubt that. She can barely move. Perhaps we could learn more about the degeneration of skulls.
Perhaps. But she could also belong to a new species. We know so little of the laws that dictate vampire reproduction.
Хорошо.
A pleasure as...
Всего хорошего. Так. Пойдем изобретем нахуй хуевины всякие полезные. Отлично. Бля, жалко. Ладно, хотя бы так. Уже что-то неплохо. Так, не исследовал. Бля, что сделал? Так. Она, я помню, что-то про сад говорила, если не ошибаюсь. Надо посмотреть там. Что, кстати, наверху, блядь? Тут запад. Ну ладно, возможно, когда-нибудь это откроется локация. Ну, то есть, может, на больницу нападет кто? Бля, жутко пиздец. Очень, блять, жутко, нахуй. Это должны быть... какая-то кровь этого, блядь. Кого напали? Где мне за ними проследить-то мне хоть? Может, что-нибудь сказать, блядь. Да вот, нахуй надо. За ней следят, блядь. Куда за ней следят? Просышь, блядь. Книжки. Окей, иди сюда, блядь. Кажется, тебе дам.
Please, of course.
Стой.
Good evening. Do you need medical? Well, the proximity of the dead is not...
Don't take too many. And that is a good thing. Goodbye, Mr.
Я что-то достижение какое-то получил. Клятва Гиппократа. Блять, а где нахуй бандюги-то эти? Ёбаные, кто там за ней там следит, блять? Какие нахуй там ордены, блять? Орден с приветом нахуй за ней следит, максимум, блять.
Sometimes you act like a real jerk, you know that?
Oh, come on, Ozzy, don't be like that.
What, like what? Like someone who felt betrayed by the man he loves? Did you ever even try to find me? Rescue me?
You know, it's not like that. I wanted to. I was so afraid to leave the hospital, not to be seen with you.
Look, we survived this shit together. That's all that matters. I know you did your best.
Блядь!
Fuck the war, right? And fuck them all.
Fuck the war. Fuck them all.
Ебать. Ебать, ребят, здорово.
It's locked, all right.
Добрый вечер, я диспетчер, как говорится.
Good evening.
Evening, Doctor.
Tell me about your true feelings for Newton.
I love him. I'm not ashamed to say it. He's the best thing that ever happened to me. I can't imagine life without him.
I admire your honesty. It takes courage to stand up to society. The world needs people like you to create change.
Courage is what we needed in the trenches, looking death in the face every day. I speak plain. I speak my mind.
Have you always been this straightforward?
All I know is, before you saved me by the sewer, my only regret was I wouldn't be able to hold or kiss Newton again. I love him, that's all.
Блядь, жесть.
I'm not, I said. But Newton sees it differently.
Понятно. Ладно, пойдем с ним попиздим.
Goodbye.
С этим Ньютоном, где он? Блять, уже убежал, нахуй.
Good evening, sir. I am Dr. Jonathan Rid of the Pembroke Hospital. May I be of assistance?
Dr. Reed. So it's you who saved my friend Oswald. It's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
And you are?
Newton Blight. Oswald and I recently returned from the war.
What can you tell me about the war, Mr. Blight? If you want to speak about it, of course.
War was... Well, you know, sir. The stench of death everywhere. Your mates lying bleeding in the mud. Just praying to make it through and get home. Bloody nightmare.
Ну да.
I fought in France, too. I served as a field surgeon, but it was not uncommon to repel an assault, especially at night.
Yeah. The first time I was wounded, I had to protect the infirmary from hostiles. Twice.
Did you know Oswald Thatcher before the war?
No. We met in the battlefield. I think we're in the same boat to France. We've stuck together ever since.
Ну, понятно.
You are always welcome at the Pembroke Hospital. As a former officer, I'll be honored to welcome a fellow veteran.
I'm not giving up on bringing Oswald back to the hospital. I just need to convince him that he needs some help.
Perhaps he needs to reach that decision by himself.
Could you speak to him? He doesn't usually listen to doctors, but perhaps because you've been through it, you can talk him round.
Пытался.
Why do you stay here now that Mr. Thatcher's back?
It's complicated. Since the war, Oswald's been really nervous with the idea of entering any hospital. And me, I've got my own issues.
Can you speak about them?
Rats, sir. Even seeing one, they turn me. Just want to run. It's that fear that stopped me from going after Oswald when he left.
How do you feel about Oswald Thatcher? You are more than friends, aren't you?
I love him. I love Oswald. We knew we wouldn't survive the war without each other. But I am terrified, Doctor.
What frightens you so much?
What if people find out? Oswald says I'm ashamed, but it ain't that. It's more, well, you know, I never thought I'd love a man.
Enjoy your love. And enjoy life as long as you can, Mr. Blight. Don't let anyone tell you who you should love or how you should love them.
I appreciate your kind words, sir. But it ain't that easy. It's all so new to me.
What caused your phobia of rats, Newton?
It happened last year following an artillery attack. I was trapped for 2 days in a hole under 2 dead soldiers. And there were rats.
Go on.
They started eating me as soon as I dozed. Gnawing at my ears, my fingers, lips. I couldn't move. Couldn't call for help.
I see.
No, you don't. You have no idea what it is to wake up buried under bodies. Fucking vermin eating your flesh. Oswald. He found me and saved me.
Угу.
Do you need med...
No thanks, sir.
Goodbye.
Ну, все хорошего, блядь. А где мне найти вот, блядь, этих... За ней следят, блядь. Кто следит, как следит, чего, блядь.
Good evening.
Милтон, может, ты что знаешь, блядь?
Goodbye.
Блядь. А как мне это выяснить, блядь? Вот что-то заметки каждый раз ставятся какие-то, блядь, непонятные, нахуй. Вот я сейчас даже... маркеров вообще не видно, блядь, каких. Ну, один маркер. Добраться до аптеки, погнали. Здесь никого и ничего нет вообще. Куда идти? Зачем идти? Кровь какая-то. Бля, ловушка что ли какая-то? Оба нахуй. Да блять. Тихо нахуй. Сдохни, поддохни, блядь. Ну ты все, блядь. Ловушка ебаная, обосранная нахуй. Хотя тут... Понятно. А по карте я иду... Ага. Даже иду правильно в целом, блядь. Вот так вот нахуй. Нихуя ты меня насадил, блядь, чувачочек. Ой, блядь. Вот и все, блядь. Топ. Надо вот через нос перейти, блядь. Стоять. Заберем. Ой, я ты, блядь. Ёбаный колдун, блядь. Где ты, блядь? Все, блядь. Еще, блядь, заказ найти, нахуй.
Opium is one of the main ingredients of Strickland's medication. Never a good move.
Ну все, пошли отсюда. Пошел ты отсюда. Убежище новое какое-то, не?
I cannot enter.
Ах ты ж, сука. Плохо.
Good evening, Doctor. And good evening to you, I located the shop, but it was vandalized, and the owner is missing. All I found was your order.
I was afraid of such bad news. People are so desperate they're ready to burgle a shop for drugs.
That's quite a list you ordered. Opium, sodium hypochlorite. It can't be just headaches you're trying to cure.
This dreadful influenza, of course. I already ran some tests on hopeless cases. Without success, I must admit.
Do you realize you could create a lethal poison without the correct dosage? Then there are the legal ramifications.
Is this not true of any medical substance, Dr. Reed? However, if you would agree to improve it, I'd be glad to accept your help.
As long as you promise to be scrupulous with your experiments, I may try to gather these substances and even help improve upon the mixture.
That's all I'm asking for, Dr. Reed. That's all I'm asking.
Так.
I want to know about these secret tests you run, and if they can save people from this epidemic. Speak to me now, Thoreau.
I know I may sound presumptuous, but I'm just following your steps, Dr. Reed. I'm casting away the shadows of ignorance by daring to face them.
Self-confidence is essential in our line of work, my young colleague, but only if tempered with the correct amount of cynicism.
But you never doubt yourself, Dr. Reed. I've read all your articles and books. You performed the most daring research during the war.
Don't you think we have enough work already? Perhaps now is not the best time to be chasing shadows.
Chasing shadows, really? It's funny those words coming from the only doctor here who has spent more time outside this hospital than in.
Do you need...
Don't have to worry about me, Doc.
Хорошо.
I can't let Strickland put his patients at risk with opium. Perhaps an adjusted formula will deliver more of a placebo effect.
Погнали, пробуем. А чё не следует, блядь? Положить. Что-то не могу понять. Тут железо есть. Натрий есть. Калий есть, чем надо еще, блин. Блять, положить нахуй. Перманганата калия. Перманганат натрия, гипотрита натрия. Натрия есть. Калия. Чё должен сделать-то, блядь? Да, блядь! Я что, блядь, должен сделать-то? Ёбаный ты нахуй в рот, блядь. Тартар железа есть. Перманганат калия, блядь. Есть у меня перманганат калия? Уже нету, блядь. Мне нужен этот ёбаный Раджиш, нахуй. Где он, блядь?
Good evening,
С ним надо поболтать.
Such a pleasure to see you again.
Так, я тут над тобой, блядь. Трафон задел, сука. Поторговаться надо мне с тобой, дружище. Нет денег вообще же нихуя, блядь, да? Мне нужен перманганат калия. Блять, а как мне, что мне сделать нужно? Я не понимаю. Блять. Какое лекарство мне нужно создать?
Do you think Dr. Strickland has any chance of curing the Spanish flu by himself?
His wish to cure the sick is not driven by pride, but by an idealistic view about our mission here. Honestly, I don't know which is worse.
You consider him a good practitioner, yet you will not report his methods.
Strickland may be a rival, but I will not use dirty tricks or regulations to prove him wrong. We are doctors, not politicians.
Thank you for...
Блять, как мне собрать это говно?
Good evening. Good evening. Did you know Dr. Ackroyd never reported your experimental research, despite the fact he doesn't agree with it?
Really? I didn't suspect he knew about my work. I must confess I am surprised.
Perhaps he thinks you should realize for yourself the danger of what you're doing.
See how condescending he can be? My God, he can be so irritating.
Да что ты говоришь-то, блядь?
What do you think of Dr. Ackroyd's aversion to modern medical methods?
It's a shame he's so narrow-minded. Dr. Suonsi taught me that science is about exploring uncharted territory. I'm convinced that's true.
With the influenza and all that's going on, you should put your differences aside, don't you think? Why is it so difficult to work together?
I believe that if Dr. Ackroyd had been the one to discover the transfusion process, he would be the first to recommend its use.
So you believe it's just a question of jealousy and pride?
Dr. Ackroyd is as proud as he is blinded by his obsolete concept of medical science.
Да что ты говоришь-то, блядь?
Goodbye.
Ай, блядь, я все не понимаю, блядь. А как мне, блядь, создать нахуй ёбаное лекарство? А, блядь! Всех отхилил. Блядь, ну я же нахуй... Пиздец.
I met him in New York once.
If only there were more.
Good evening. Good evening.
Less resignation.
I'd like wise choice.
I know I can count on you. I wish I could say the same for the others.
You look exhausted. You're pushing yourself too hard.
Блять, ну вот как мне собрать это ёбаное лекарство, если ни ингредиентов, нихуя тут нету, блять. Хинин, нахуй он не всрался, блять. Да, может, доктор Суонси там есть что-то медицинских этих кабинетах егортных, блядь. Полезное. Нихуя нет, что ли? Обеден, блядь. Пиздобол. Обосранный пиздобол. Это потом, если кому надо, читайте. Только я не перелистнул, блять. Хуёво. Кадеин, блять. Это Элвуда.
I cannot enter.
Сука. Гиплохлорида натрия, блять, надо еще. Сука. Гиплохлорида натрия. Ладно, надо покачаться, может быть. Нет, мало. Не мало. Сейчас я, короче, что сделаю? Нахуй продам шмотки, блять. Этого. Как его? Милтону продам шмотки. Все, блядь, здесь неожиданно кажется, блядь, гиплохлорида натрия, блядь. Ага. С ним пиздим.
Why do you feel responsible for the injury, Thomas? What really happened?
I wasn't disfigured by any German shells. It happened during my leave. It was an accident.
Tell me what really happened then.
I went with a whore in Rouen. Dead drunk I was. The hotel was a shithole. There was a fire that night.
Did you start the fire? Were you trying to avoid going back to the front? That's not uncommon, you know.
No. It's just that I was asleep when the flames reached the room. The girl was long gone. Bitch never woke me up. Left me to burn.
Why lie about it?
Come on. It's one thing to come back disfigured by the Germans, and it's another to get injured in an accident that could have happened to anybody.
Reconstructive surgery has been very successful for some soldiers.
I don't want to wear a bloody mask for the rest of my life. I'd rather stay here and just be forgotten.
Охуеть, спасибо, блядь. Какие нахуй подсказки? Ладно, давайте сейчас сделаем вот так вот, блядь. О, подсказки, блядь. Где этот хуй? Экроид. Угу. Есть, все, я нашел еще гиплохлорид натрия. Отлично, блядь. Меня еще и кровь интересует. Личный вопрос.
Tell me,
Strickland,
are you thinking
Harvey Fiddick needs...
Do you
his wish to...
You consider him a...
Strickland may...
Thank you for...
Так, а если я к этому сейчас подойду?
Good evening, Doctor.
And good evening.
Tell me, Thoreau, what's the real cause of your dislike for Dr. Ackroyd?
He refuses to admit that your blood transfusion technique is the only way to save Mr. Fiddick. I'm convinced we must use it.
What Dr. Ackroyd really said is that you lack the skill to perform this operation efficiently. Is there anything you have to say about this?
It's a false conceit. Dr. Ackroyd secretly envies your reputation. His jealousy blinds him. I'm not the real target here.
Понятно.
Goodbye.
Блять, ни одной еще подсказки у меня, кстати, ну, не сработало, пиздец. Как это обидно, ёба народ. А больнице нельзя, да? Ну ладно, ладно, ладно.
Strickland's project could be dangerous. I have a mind to report him to Dr. Ackroyd.
Я думаю, лучше Кройду отдать. Ну, он... Бля, он все-таки получше будет. Этот юный такой, типа, блядь, да, нахуй. Это чисто Левин, блядь, из интернов, а там Быков, нахуй.
I'm quite busy.
I know that you're a busy man, but I could use your help and advice.
The great Dr. Reid honors me with a request. What is it exactly?
Dr. Strickland devised an experimental drug for the Spanish flu that he asked me to manufacture.
You know what I think of fringe medical experimentation?
That's exactly why I want you to keep the result, Doctor. I made sure it won't harm anyone, but I'd like you to take care of it.
I see. Put it in my cabinet. I'll give you the key. I'll make sure no one uses this medication by mistake.
I'll do that. Thank you for your help, Dr. Ackroyd.
Thank you for your trust on the matter, Dr. Reid.
Так. Сейчас мы сходим. Сейчас мы сходим к Кройду. А возможно, мы там посмотрим, что... Ниже? Отлично. Охуенно, здесь можно порыться сейчас, блядь. Если здесь хотя бы что-то есть важное, я хуй его знает.
It's locked all right. Now that Dr. Ackroyd has been warned, he should make good use of this formula. It's locked. It's locked.
Ага.
It's locked, all right.
Бля, на всех тут стучит педрила, блядь. Блядь, надо быстрее бежать, 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 бежать. На улицу, на улицу, на улицу, на улицу, на улицу. Блять, ну нет. Сука.
Good evening.
Good evening.
According to the report I read, your unprofessional conduct put a patient in danger, Gwyneth.
That's not true. I know when my patient's life is at risk, and I'm more competent than a lot of doctors that I know. Problem is, I'm a woman.
I don't see what your gender has to do with your abilities, nurse.
Yes, nurse. Because I'll never be a doctor, no matter what my skills. I could make a decision that could save a life, but oh no, that's unbecoming conduct.
Have you heard of Elizabeth Blackwell? She was the first woman listed on the UK Medical Register. Change is slow, but it will come. And you will always have my support.
To have the right to study shouldn't be determined by sex, skin, or wealth. That's all I'm saying.
Отлично.
Goodbye.
Поболтали! Блять. Да-да-да, пошли, 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 пошли. Давай, 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 давай. Да, блядь. Блять, я не понимаю. Я не понимаю. Сука, дайте мне поговорить им, блять, пожалуйста. Куда? Отлично, отлично, отлично.
How can I be sure I'll not find your unconscious body in the house again?
I promise you, you'll not find my unconscious body.
For God's sake, how can you say such a thing?
How can you refuse to listen? I tried to warn you for so long.
No, I won't let my only son die. You promised me you'll stay alive.
Your son lied to you, like the whole world lies to us.
Понял. А чё за хуйня? Чё за хуйня, нахуй? Ага. Погнали. Побеседуем с парнишкой, нахуй.
Good evening, Miss.
I'm okay.
Your medical report says you're not affected by the Spanish flu. What do you think of that, Mortimer?
Does it make me happy? Not in the slightest. If it was up to me, I would have left this place long ago. I know I don't belong here.
And why do you think you don't belong here?
I know the staff have more important things to do than look after me. There's plenty of patients here who need their attention.
Uh-huh.
Why did your mother have you hospitalized here? She seems convinced this is a bad hospital.
My mother just wants the best for me. She won't rest while I'm here. She'd go all the way to hell and back to help me.
Okay.
Admit it, Mortimer. Your mother had you hospitalized here because you tried to kill yourself.
Yes, it's true.
All right then. This is the first time we've really shared information about your case. Shall we call this progress?
Call it what you want, Dr. Reid.
Can I help you in any way, Mr. Goswick?
I wrote a letter for my mother. She was supposed to read it after my death. But I suppose she doesn't have to read it now.
I see. And is this letter still near the place where you tried to take your own life?
Yes. And I don't want anyone reading my last words. I mean, I'm still here. If you bring me back that letter, then perhaps we'll talk.
Uh-huh.
You can trust me. I won't report you to the authorities. My one and only concern is your health.
I guess I should thank you then.
Да, блядь, не за что.
I have...
Doctor.
Good evening, Doctor.
I've read your son's medical report, Beatrice. It's not the flu or anything life-threatening. What has you so worried?
He was at death's door when he was brought here. I just want him to be better as soon as possible.
He's not out of the woods yet, you know. He might need to stay here longer than expected.
Take care of him then, Dr. Reid. People here only seem to focus on contagious patients. I worry my poor Mortimer will be neglected.
Mm-hmm.
Your son wished to die, Beatrice. Why did you hide such crucial information?
Are you not aware suicide is a crime? Mortimer could be thrown in jail. I can't let that happen. I won't.
I understand you fear the legal consequences, Mrs. Goswick. But don't you realize your silence significantly affects your son's case?
All my son needs is help and comprehension. Not judgment and punishment for what he may or may not have done.
Ага.
Goodbye, Mrs.
А ты чё, не скажешь мне сейчас новенького, то, что я сейчас с твоей матерью побеседовал? Нет? Скажешь? Ну и пошел ты тогда нахуй. Опыта, конечно, мало дается, блядь. Пиздец. Вот, надо поспать и сохраняться, я думаю. Отлично. Отлично, нахуй. Окей. И опять же нас Fatal Error. Почему? Его знает. Ребят, всем спасибо за просмотр. Подписывайтесь на канал, ставьте лайки, комментарии и всем пока.